Welcome in, everybody, to this Kansas City Chiefs post-game live stream presented by Bleacher Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joey Segura. And together, over the next 30 minutes, we are going to break down the Kansas City Chiefs' 27-19 loss over the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. The Chiefs lost, and this game, for lack of a better term, was a complete dumpster fire. Joey, do you want to talk about some of the things that happened at the end of this game by chance?
Yeah, so first off, we're going to start off with the officiating. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. That might have been the worst no call I've ever seen in my life. There was a referee right in front of it. The Green Bay cornerback, I've already forgot who it was because I was so upset, literally went for a piggyback ride. He went for a piggyback ride on Marquez's back, and they just didn't call it. My personal opinion, it was a makeup call that they didn't throw the flag. I think it was more or less them basically saying they know they got that Mahomes call wrong where he was going out of bounds and they called unnecessary roughness. They know that they got that one wrong, and so they didn't want to throw the flag. But I know we're just talking about it. The referees sucked both ways. I mean, the refs were terrible. And I think Chiefs fans are going to try to spin it like it was just for us. No, they were terrible for Green Bay too. They screwed over Green Bay a couple different times. But, there's not a lot of things to say about this team that are positive. I think that we're in a spot where it's definitely not looking great, but referees did not help us, and they didn't help Green Bay either, though, to be fair.
Here's the thing, man. For all the Chiefs fans that might be in this chat saying that the referees screwed the Chiefs out of a win, are the referees the reason why Patrick Mahomes was sacked 3 times in the red zone in the first half? Is that why? You know, the Chiefs looked horrible today offensively, and defensively they didn't look great, but injuries were stacking up across the board, and all you needed to do was put together a decent game offensively where you score 25 points and you win. That's what we've been saying all year long. If the Chiefs score 25 plus points, they will win a football game. And yet, when you need your offense to step up, they can never seem to do it. And that's why, I don't want to jump the gun. We still have a lot of football left to be played, and the Chiefs are still going to make the playoffs. Do not get it twisted. Right now, they're the 2 seed, maybe they're the 3 seed in the AFC playoff picture. But I just think if you watch how this offense plays right now, they have no solution to the problem. They tried going to Isaiah Pacheco, and he had a pretty good game. He had over 100 yards rushing in this game. But at the end of the day, if it's not Pacheco and it's not Rashee Rice, who's it going to be? It's not been Travis Kelce recently. They've tried to lean on him for way too long, and it just seems like the Chiefs can never fully put it together offensively, whether it's penalties or Patrick Mahomes getting sacked. Like I said, 3 times in the first half in the red zone. You convert one of those things, who knows how this game ends up. So, the officiating wasn't good tonight. It was bad for both sides. That PI call, the no PI call on MVS downfield, I've never seen a more egregious no call in my life. And like you said, it makes sense. It was a makeup call for that roughing the, unnecessary roughness out of bounds on Patrick Mahomes. That was bad. It should have been called. But it sucks to see because I think that no call was even more egregious than the Patrick Mahomes out of bounds hit. And who knows what would have happened if the Chiefs would have gotten that PI call. Maybe they go down, maybe they score. They would have been in great field position to do it. But even then, let's play the hypothetical game. They get that call. They get in that situation. You confident that they're going to convert that into a touchdown? You confident that they're going to be able to go for 2 and get it? They didn't get it earlier in the game. The Chiefs did not play like a team that deserved to win this game, and that's why, the refs sucked. It was tough to watch at the end of the game. Seemingly everything broke down. But I wasn't confident that the Chiefs could figure out a way to win this game, even if everything did go right.
Yeah, and you know what? Before I go on my mini rant about this team, I want to give credit to Green Bay. And and Mitchell Schwartz said something about this kind of on Twitter. I hate this narrative that's being pushed about Jordan Love. He's a heck of a football player. You can see the development coming, and he's becoming good. Anytime, like, there was the fourth down conversion, which we'll touch on that too. But that play, when Chris Collinsworth was calling that one, it was kind of a lucky play by Jordan Love. No, it wasn't. He placed that ball perfectly in between 3 or 4 different defensive backs. But when Mahomes does it, it's great. So I want to give credit to Green Bay first off. They played a great game. Their defense came out, played great. Their offense was really good as well. But this team, this is what it is. And I don't want to be too negative, but this game to me is where I think it might be the sky's falling now. Legitimately, this might be the game. And I've held off on that for a long time. But what we've seen, this is what it's going to be from here on out. They're undisciplined, which for an Andy Reid team is very uncharacteristic. They shoot themselves in the foot, and that's why they lose football games. Juwan Taylor's getting paid however many millions of dollars to come, and he's been good for the last couple of weeks. I'll give him that. He hasn't made too many mistakes. But this O-line crapped the bed here and the goal line in those situations. We rolled into this season, and Brett Veach knew what this wide receiver room was. He knew it. Coming into this season, Brett Veach was well aware there was not a single bona fide wide receiver 1, let alone wide receiver 2 on this roster. There was not a single wide receiver that preseason you could look on this team and say, you know what? He'd be a dang good number 2. There was not. There was potential. Kadarius Toney had potential. Sky Moore had potential. MVS, we knew what he was, a decent veteran. It's over for them. This wide receiver room is not going to get any better. The Sky Moore chapter in the Chiefs book needs to be over. That interception, Sky Moore just stopped running a route. He just stopped. Nice. There was another play earlier in the game where Marquez could have gone outside of the numbers and had just a straight up go route for a touchdown. Very similar to what happened earlier in that Eagles game too. And he went inside into coverage, and it was just a bad read from him and Mahomes, miscommunications. So it's frustrating to watch because when you look at this and just from a long-term perspective, we're not sure that Patrick Mahomes is ever going to get a defense like this again. Chris Jones is gone after this season, and one of Snead and Willie Gay is gone. You're not keeping 2 of those 3 most likely. And we don't know how long Andy Reid has either. So you're telling me that we have what is one of the best defenses in the NFL and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and you're going to waste that year because you didn't want to go out and make a move for a wide receiver, because you thought you could get cute with little gadget guys here and there. And that's what's very, very frustrating is that. And this offseason is going to be really interesting. I don't mean to jump forward to that. I'm not trying to say the season's already over. This is Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They're always going to have a chance. But I'm almost already getting into that mode where it's like, man, I can't wait to see what wide receiver we draft. I can't wait to see what wide receiver they're going to pick up, because I can't stand to sit here and watch 60 minutes every Sunday for the rest of the season of this wide receiver room. I can't do it.
It's really bad. And everything you just said on that rant is completely true, completely valid. And the Chiefs dropped the ball. And we don't want to look ahead too much into the offseason because we still have a lot of season left to go and the playoffs. And with the AFC being as wide open as it is, you can't count them out. But it just seems like, man, this Chiefs team is not the Chiefs team that we've seen in years prior. And it sucks because they're a good 1 wide receiver away from probably being the head and shoulders best team in the AFC. And it's not close. This defense is legit. Even in a game that you suffered injuries to your middle linebacker and Drew Tranquill and Brian Cook, who suffered a pretty nasty ankle injury. I don't want to speculate. Don't expect him to come back anytime soon, Chiefs Kingdom. You lost Tranquill to concussion protocol. You had injuries to your offensive line and Donovan Smith, which forced Wanya Morris to come in, and he is not ready as a left tackle. So across the board, it seems like this game seems like the sky is falling because of the injuries, the undisciplined football, the mistakes that were made, the turnovers. It's really tough to watch. And again, we can't lose hope completely. But again, we've been talking about it all season. We were waiting for the Chiefs offense to turn around. I'm here to say right here, right now, the Chiefs offense will not turn around. This is what it is. This is what we are going to see for the rest of the season. Can your defense step up and hold a team to under 20 points? If they can, even then it's not a guarantee that you're going to win. That's the only chance you're going to have to win. There is no reason that on the road on a Sunday night football game, prime time, that your offense comes out in this game and lays a complete egg. And that's what they did in this game. And I think a lot of that has to boil down to the sacks that were taken in the red zone. If Mahomes doesn't get sacked 3 times in the first half, which was the most he's been sacked all season, who knows what would have happened? And again, the red zone offense hasn't been good all year, so who am I to say that they convert on any of those? But I would have liked to see if maybe they could have kicked a field goal. I guess not kicked a field goal, but if they could have maybe got a first down or continued to move the chains and maybe get a touchdown. Because one touchdown in this game separates things, changes how you go about playing in the third and fourth quarter. And it's difficult to see. It's really difficult to see.
It is. And it's frustrating because early on in the season, I think we were able to kind of call out play calling a little bit. I think the play calling struggled. This game, that was not an issue. The play calling, I think, was pretty good for the most part. I think, if anything, the defensive play calling was kind of questionable on some of the third downs and whatever. But they're trying to utilize some of these wide receivers. They know Rashee Rice's best attribute is when you get him that ball and he's able to just go with the full head of steam. So they're dumping it off about the line of scrimmage, getting him some blocking from either Justin Watson or whoever, and that works well. Pacheco is playing like a dog right now. He's running like a madman. They're leaning into Pacheco, and it's not enough. Travis Kelce's at a point where he's 34, and I've seen Chiefs fans talking about the Taylor Swift thing, this and that, whatever. Taylor Swift isn't doubling Travis Kelce, and there's no other reliable wide receiver option. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, Travis Kelce can't do anything. And it's just frustrating to watch. And like I said, I just keep going back to it. And to me, it's the roster building. And also, I'm well aware we probably sound like spoiled Chiefs fans right now. There are Giant fans who are sitting there at 4-8. There are, Raider fans. There's all these teams who are just struggling. And we've won 2 Super Bowls and gone to 3 in the last 4. And we're sitting here at 8-4, and we're just complaining. So it's frustrating because this should be a Super Bowl year with this defense. And you're watching that game, and it was just a slow burn. Those two red zone opportunities that they just blew were killer. That's just been the identity of this team. And it's just shocking because they're killing themselves. And like I said, Green Bay played a good game. Kansas City could have won that football game if you score 1 red zone touchdown. If you score 1 red zone touchdown, who knows how this thing changes? Right off the bat, too, you put pressure, you stay in the game more. So last week it flew because it was against the Raiders. You got down 14-0, and they're playing decent football under their interim head coach, so no shade to them. But this isn't the Raiders. Jordan Love looks like he's becoming legit. LaFleur's a great coach. This is not going to fly in the playoffs. You cannot walk into it. And they're facing a chance at a road game now. We said they controlled their destiny, and they still kind of do because we've looked at Baltimore's schedule, and they have a really tough schedule coming up and all that. But now that you drop this one to Green Bay, Buffalo next week's going to be tough, man. Buffalo's going to be smelling blood in the water. They want revenge on the Chiefs. They can't stand us the same way Cincinnati and the same way Denver can't. They're going to want to come in here and kick our butts. So they're going to have a quick turnaround. It just seems like this is the constant cycle, though, this season. It seems like there's a week like this. Then the next week, they get a little bit better. Week after, they look great. And then we're right back to here. So it's just been a constant cycle. It's a frustrating cycle to watch. And, I really had almost a loss for words. I wish there were more things I could elaborate on. It's so frustrating to sit here and watch this every single week when we know what the expectations are inside of that building.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We have been sitting here week after week talking about how we think the Chiefs can turn it around, and we are the insane ones. This Chiefs team is not going to magically get better, and I think that we've all been holding out hope that it was going to happen, but the harsh reality is this team offensively sucks. They're one of the – I don't care what anybody says. This team is not a top 10 offense. If you watch how they have been playing recently, they've been averaging like 20-something points a game. That's not good enough. And with this defense, you should be averaging a lot more because they're giving you the ball in great field position like half the time. So this Chiefs offense has not been good. And anybody that thinks it has, if they just look at the statistics, go argue with the wall because they just have not been that good. The only good thing about this loss, the only redeeming quality is that it was an NFC loss. And that means the Chiefs have 3 NFC losses to only 1 AFC loss this year. So if, the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens lose a game here, since the Chiefs will have a better conference record, assuming they don't choke for the rest of the season, they're still going to have a good shot at getting a high seed, maybe even the 1 seed. I'm trying not to think about the 1 seed right now, but for how bad this team has been, they are still up for the 1 seed, and that is an amazing thing. I'm not, banking on it right now because I think the Chiefs have a lot more glaring issues in the 1 seed right now, and I think that's maybe why this game was so troubling to watch because, like you said, it was a culmination of all the bad things coming true at the right time, and for this team right now, you just can't have that. And I think going forward, I mean, you mentioned how they were trying to get wide receivers involved in the screen game. Like you would throw a screen pass to Rashee Rice, and they had Kadarius Toney out in front blocking. That kind of sort of worked, but while it worked, it was kind of troubling that was the only way your offense could have a spark or a jolt. And that's not a indictment on, I guess that's not praise for the Packers defense. That's more of an indictment against the Chiefs offense that they couldn't do something downfield, and they had opportunities. They just messed it up. And I think that is so concerning moving forward. And I think that's probably the biggest reason why this offense isn't going to change. This is exactly what they're going to be. And now with injuries on the defensive side of the ball, I'm starting to get concerned whether or not this team's going to be able to at least hold it together until the playoffs come.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're going to get into the playoffs. At the end of the day, this is Mahomes and Andy Reid, but we just sound like broken records. You know what I mean? We've been on this all season. Every single episode, it's felt like where we've had a discussion about the wide receivers. This has been it, and it's been the same issue. And so I think that it has to be. I mean, we're frustrated just watching it. I couldn't imagine being Patrick Mahomes and having to drop back every down and just watch Sky Moore just run a route that nothing happens on and watch Marquez take the wrong read on a route. It's infuriating. It sucks. There's not much else you can say. I think, there's going to be narratives. People are going to, obviously, the sky is falling a little bit. We've acknowledged that. I think normally we can say maybe Chiefs fans are overreacting. I don't think that's an overreaction right now. But I really don't think the defense, I mean, I understand the defense could have been better, but the defense held the home team to 27. Like, I know that's not a low number or anything, but the defense did enough to give your offense a chance to win. The offense shot themselves in the foot in the red zone twice. If the defense hasn't been playing as well,
three times.
Three times what it was. And if the defense hadn't been playing as well as it has been all year, we would not be 8-4 right now. We'd be worse than
Absolutely not.
And somebody asked, is it an overreaction to say we have the worst wide receiver core in the league? No, I don't think so. No. I mean, because seriously, I love Rashee Rice. I think he is going to be a legitimate, at least wide receiver 2 in his career. He's a baller. Rookies don't do this in Andy Reid systems almost ever. But outside of him, should anybody else be a starter on any team in the National Football League that's contending? No.
They wouldn't be. Wouldn't be.
I mean, would you want Marquez Valdes-Scantling as your number 3 in any offense the way he's played this year?
No. And really quickly, they were comparing Allen Lazard's stats on the Jets the week that he got benched to MVS's stats. Allen Lazard's stats were better than MVS, and MVS is our current number 1 or 2 wide receiver, depending on how you cut it. He would not be on this team if the Chiefs had other options, but unfortunately that we don't, so he has to be here. I don't think MVS makes it to next season. I think that at this offseason he is gone. I know that contract was very team-friendly. They're not going to keep him. But I'm looking at the stats right now. The Chiefs had 13 passing first downs. They had more first downs than Green Bay, 25-24. The real stat that sticks out to me, they were 7 of 11 on third down conversions. And if you're looking at that efficiency is pretty good. Green Bay was 5 of 10. The problem is, once the Chiefs got in the red zone, they lost it. 3 sacks in the red zone took them out of those drives completely. And when you have that kind of stuff happen, it's no wonder why you lose games. You can't be poor in the red zone, be sloppy with blocking up front, have a turnover, and also expect to win. It's just not a recipe for success. I think if the Chiefs could have held up front, and part of it's unfair because, Wanya Morris had to come in for left tackle because of a neck injury to Donovan Smith, but Morris really costed the Chiefs a series or two in this game. And it's unfortunate, but the blocking was not good enough. And I think if Mahomes doesn't get sacked on one of those drives, they probably win this game, because then they wouldn't have had to go for two either, and they would have been able to, kick that extra point, and they probably would have won like 25 to 24 or something along those lines.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it would have changed the entire complexity of this game if you score early. More pressure gets put on Jordan Love, and like I said, he's been great this year. I mean, you can really see him turning the corner into becoming an actual quarterback now. But at the same time, we don't know how he would have reacted against the Chiefs in that kind of situation if you put your foot down on the pedal. But this offseason is going to be huge. I mean, and maybe I'm jumping forward to that as a coping mechanism to try to not think about the present because it's so frustrating. But
yeah,
and the way football's set up, it's very, very rare that you have a pretty good both sides of the ball. Like, it's not common that you have a great offense and a great defense. That just because of the salaries and stuff, you had a chance to do that this year, and you didn't take advantage. And like I've said, I think that's just why it's so frustrating to see, is just that they've kind of rolled into this season and just said, all right, we're gonna throw out Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. Let's go. And they're gonna have to address it. The only way I think you can for certain and to be safe is you got to go out and get a big name. Whether that's Michael Pittman, whether that's Mike Evans on a 1 or 2 year deal, you got to get somebody. Because Kelsey only has a year or two left, where I think he's at a pretty high level, like what he is now, where I'd consider him 1,000-yard tight end. And after that, you don't have any other options besides Rashee Rice. So things are frustrating. This outlook on this season, the goal is still Super Bowl. Am I expecting that anymore? This might be the first year under Patrick Mahomes that I'm not expecting a Super Bowl berth, which is wild considering his first year as a starter. Our defense probably couldn't have guarded a peewee football team and held them to under 2 scores. So now that we have a top 5 defense, the fact that we're sitting here and even having to say that I think the expectations of realistic expectations have shifted from the Super Bowl to hopefully an AFC championship appearance is crazy. And they are a different team in the playoffs. So hopefully they shut us all up. I want nothing more than that, than people to be able to come back to this live stream and clown me for it. I hope that's what happens. But right now, I just don't realistically seeing that being the outcome.
I think the problem with the wide receivers, and I'm a Brett Veach truther. I like Brett Veach a lot. I think he's done fantastic things drafting wise for this team. He got Pacheco in the 7th round. Trent McDuffie's looking like one of the best cornerbacks in football. L'Jarius Sneed, 4th round draft pick. You can go down the list. He drafted most of the cornerstones for this defense, and he's also added supplementary players to the offense that has helped them win the Super Bowl in years prior. I think the biggest problem with the wide receiver core is in a year that you needed to see growth, they regressed. And the regression from the wide receiver core is the most surprising thing, because we kept talking about how, they only lost Juju Smith-Schuster, but why are they this bad? The unit as a whole has regressed. And I don't think that was a regression that Brett Veach expected to happen. And, how could you expect them going from, winning the Super Bowl to being the worst unit in football? I don't think anybody expected that. And so, there's going to be changes made in the offseason, but we're not in the offseason. We still got a lot of football left to be played. There's still a Super Bowl open and on the line, and the Chiefs are going to try their best to win that. I think that, the reason that Chiefs fans are so concerned right now, and Chris Collinsworth even mentioned it on the broadcast, they got sloppy and very casual when it came to, I think it was an alignment issue where there was multiple players in motion. That's just the kind of uncharacteristic mistakes that we're not used to seeing from an Andy Reid offense. Like, they're just undisciplined, and that is going to have to change if they want to have any chance of winning a championship. You can have guys that might not be the most talented, but you can't shoot yourself in the foot with turning the ball over, penalties, and especially being undisciplined.
Oh, yeah. And that's, I think, what is so frustrating about this is at the end of the day, even though we maybe have the worst wide receiver core in the National Football League, Patrick Mahomes is so good, he gives them a chance. He's giving them a chance. Isaiah Pacheco is playing like a Pro Bowl level running back this entire season, and you have Andy Reid, it's going to give you a chance. But Andy Reid can't control your O-line holding and getting false starts and stuff in the red zone. He can't control that. Mahomes can't control his wide receivers running bad routes. And it's always deeper than just one position group normally. Like, it's normally you can't just say, oh, the season sucked because the wide receivers. Really, when you break it down this season, they're the only position group on this team when healthy that I would say is just flat out not good. O-line, despite having some bad penalties tonight, really all season has been very good after they cleaned it up with Juwan Taylor the first game or two. Running back, great. Quarterback, great. Tight ends, good. Defense has been just spectacular across the board. So it's frustrating because I don't know how many more changes you can make. Say what you want about Nagy. I think he's done his very best to work with what he's been given. He has a terrible wide receiver room. And to make a somewhat of a comparison, it's a different sport. It's like Ned Yost with the Royals in 2019. What is he supposed to do with Chris Owings? Like, this is just where we're at. Like, you can only do so much when you have three wide receivers in Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and Marquez that are wide receiver threes at their best right now. There's only so much you can do for them. You can try to scheme it up as well as you want to. You can put them in the best position, and it just was proven it's not enough. It's not enough because they are just not good wide receivers. And I hate hating on Chiefs players. I do, because at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I want every player that comes into this organization, and even once they leave, to be successful. You never root against guys, but they're just not good. I'll call it as I see it. They're just they're terrible right now. That's all it is.
They're the worst unit in the league. They're the worst wide receiver core in the NFL, and it's not particularly close. So there's only so much scheming that you can do to fix that. And the problem is the Chiefs have relied so long on, Travis Kelce figuring it out and Patrick Mahomes, making something out of nothing. And that is not really a successful model for sustained success. And I think that Brett Veach might have found that out this year, because we were all expecting the Chiefs to maybe regress a little bit after the Tyreek Hill trade, and they went out and won the Super Bowl. And so maybe the regression came the year after they won the Super Bowl. I don't think this is a Super Bowl hangover. I think the problem, quite frankly, is that you just have wide receivers that can't catch the football or make dynamic plays. And at the end of the day, I know we've been repeating ourselves over and over and over again, but the wide receiver core is the only problem that is holding this team back from winning back-to-back Super Bowls. If the Chiefs had a better wide receiver core, we'd probably be like 10-2 right now. And I think that that's frustrating, but at the end of the day, we're just going to have to wait and see if this team can turn it around come playoff time. Hopefully next week against the Buffalo Bills, they can come out and show some improvement. But at a certain point, we can't keep expecting a different result if we've seen this basically every week this entire season.
What it is. And I mean, it is what it is. I hate saying that. It is what it is. And I know people talk about it. If Mahomes somehow and Andy Reid somehow win a Super Bowl with this wide receiver core, I'm telling you right now, I don't care. Rename the city after Mahomes and Andy Reid. Do whatever. I mean, because it would maybe be one of the greatest achievements in football history. So, and really, the giant thing to me that was missing is you don't have Juju anymore. And I know he wasn't a star or anything, but he was a reliable wide receiver that did what he was asked. And building off of it, yeah, I do think Sky Moore ran the wrong route on the INT. Of my comment, I think you kind of watch it, and I didn't at first. And then when I watched the replay, it just kind of looks like he stopped running. And also, Mahomes' reaction to me is very telling. Mahomes normally will take the blame for stuff if it's his fault, and he'll be the first one to let the wide receivers know when they messed up. And so to me, looked like Sky Moore just stopped running, but just a terrible game, frustrating game. And, it is what it is.
How many times this year have we seen Patrick Mahomes frustrated with his wide receivers and just like, man, like, what am I going to do? Like, what can I do? All I'm doing is throwing the football on target, and you guys are letting me down. And hopefully the Chiefs can find some way to correct this in the weeks going forward. I'm not too optimistic right now. I think that the Chiefs are going to have to do a lot of, a lot of improving very quickly if we want to see anything happen. But I guess it is what it is. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. It's going to be very interesting to see what this team does come playoff time, because maybe they get hot. But right now, if they enter the playoffs playing like this, they're a wild card exit, and it's not close. So that's all we got for this post-game live stream. The Chiefs dropped this game to the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field by a final score of 27-19. The Chiefs moved to 8-4 on the season, and the Packers moved to 6-6. The Chiefs return home to play the Buffalo Bills next week, trying to get back in the win column. We're just going to have to wait and see. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching this Bleacher Report post-game live stream. I've been your host, Michael Darcy, and Joey Segura. Thanks for watching.